A Bay Area nonprofit is saving lives, matching African-American donors with patients who need transplants so badly, and has even created a museum exhibit to drive home its message. Here to tell us all about it is Ayanna Anderson of Donor Network West and creator of the Giving Me Life exhibit, and San Francisco fire captain and donor recipient Anthony Robinson. Welcome, you guys, to Bay Area Focus. What a fantastic, positive story. Let's start with the Giving Me Life campaign and just in general, what it is.
Sure. Thanks for having us, first and foremost. So we launched the Giving Me Life campaign really to address the fact that in the African-American community, as we did our engagement efforts, we did hear back that there was some concern about whether or not African-American folks were benefiting from the gift of life, which is the gift of organ and tissue transplantation. And so we felt compelled to showcase the many African-American volunteers that we work with and to really elevate their stories in a very compelling way. And we partnered with a photographer who has a personal connection to the cause. She's the daughter of a heart transplant recipient, Katie Sugarman. And we decided to shine a light on 9 African-American recipients, organ and tissue, and to share their journey and to talk about what they've been through and to celebrate where they are now, all thanks to the gift of a very generous donor. And so we launched this campaign in June with the African American Museum and Library at Oakland. The exhibit opened up with Katie's photography along with some other factoids and some other interactive elements, really as a call to action to get more African Americans out and engaged.
And speaking of a call to action, you have your own call to action, Anthony. We're going to play it right now so that the folks can see it.
A lot of us are very naive and we just don't know anything about it. A lot of people don't want to sign that line 7 on the DMV to say, I want to be a donor, because they're scared about it. And then they think, who is it going to go to? Who is it going to help anyone? I don't know anyone that needs a heart transplant. I was one of those naive, not knowing, not having the knowledge individuals. I didn't know and I didn't care. But now I know and I care a lot, which is why any second I have, I want to share the information and let people know it does make a difference. It does go to people that you know, and it makes a difference, and it saves lives. It saved mine.
Such an important message and such an important story. What is your backstory getting to this moment?
Well, in 1993, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, and I had just got hired by the fire department in 1991. And so the doctor told me then that I would need a heart transplant, but I didn't believe him. They gave me some medicines, they took me off duty for a year, and I was able to go back to work, and I was able to work my full line of duty. Several years later, I started getting sick, and then I went to light duty, and they gave me a position that I really enjoyed. I was in charge of internal affairs, but it wasn't the reason I joined the fire department. And then as time progressed, I would go into the hospital like on a Friday night and get out on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, and it just kept happening, and then one day I went into the hospital and I never left. And so I was in the hospital for 6 months. I was in the ICU, and they didn't think I was going to make it. 2 weeks before they said that my time was going to run out, a heart came in from a gentleman who I never met. His name was Danny. He was 39 years old. He was a youth minister. He lived in Eureka, California. And he decided at an early age that he wanted to be a donor and a tissue donor. And so he signed the dotted line, number 7, on his DMV, and I received his heart.
Wow. I mean, that is such a heart-filling story. Literally, when you are in the ICU and you don't know if you're going to get that heart, what is that feeling like for someone who might be on the fence about being a donor?
It's interesting you should ask, because a lot of people think if they sign that dotted line that maybe they're not going to receive the type of medical care that they should get because they know I want to be a donor. But the fact is that it's so far from the truth. Being a firefighter, I arrive on the scene in these emergencies when people are having heart attacks, car accidents, etc. And we don't ask if you're a donor. We don't look at your driver's license. We give the best care we can. And it's not until someone has that accident where they're in the hospital and they have to ask that question to the family when that question comes into play.
Right. And so when you're trying to convince people, I mean, what is kind of your method? I know you had an exhibit that was all part of it. Let's talk about that.
Well, the exhibit is a great opportunity to bring folks out and to start the conversation. For us, the mission is really twofold. We want to create a culture of organ and tissue donation. We want to normalize that so that everywhere we go, if we say, pull out your wallet, let me see your driver's license, your ID, everyone says
normal?
Donor. Well, in different communities, we're not seeing the consent rates that we would like to see. And so what we have noticed from a statistical standpoint is that multicultural communities have patients who are overrepresented on the transplant list, but we don't see those same strong numbers when it comes to being registered. So that's where our work is to go into the communities where we're not seeing those consent rates and to come up with interesting and creative campaigns to really paint a picture. And I think that when they see representatives of their community who are benefiting, who are thriving, that's very motivating. And so that was sort of the heartbeat of the exhibit, showcasing and having that representation that people can align with.
When you first meet people and they are on the fence, they've seen the exhibit, what's your final last selling point that your 15-second pitch, you're like, you have to do this?
We tell them things like, do you know that one donor can save up to 8 lives through organ donation and heal 75 lives through tissue donation? We talk about whether or not they have a legacy of being altruistic. We also let people know the only way you're ever eligible to be an organ donor is if you're in a hospital setting. And so that does alleviate some of the concerns. And so when you've been determined to be brain dead, that's the only time that donation actually comes up. We also tell everyone to talk to their family members so that that hard work is not on our team, but they can have those open conversations well in advance should something happen. Strong
selling points. If you're not already convinced, you should be. Thank you guys so much for such a great cause. You all should be organ donors. We should all be organ donors. Well, for more information about Donor Network West and how you can help, you can go to donorwest.org. And remember, the exhibit Giving Me Life will be at the African American Museum and Library in Oakland through August 31st. Don't miss it. Well, that's it for our show this week, but we will be back with more Bay Area Focus next week. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and our website, kpixtv.com/Bay Area Focus. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.